The curtain of history often falls on legends when we least expect it, leaving a void that can only be filled by the echoes of their laughter and the weight of their wisdom. For decades, one face stood as a symbol of patience, resilience, and the struggle of a generation trying to find its way. Today, we stand at the crossroads of memory and tribute as we honor the life of Demond Wilson, a man who was far more than just a television icon. While the world knew him as Lamont Sanford, the son in the legendary duo of Sanford and Son, his real-life journey was a complex tapestry of courage, conflict, and ultimate transformation. To understand the man, we must look past the junk-filled yard in Watts and see the soldier, the seeker, and the servant of God who spent his final days in the quiet embrace of Palm Springs. Born in the post-war era of 1946, Demond's story began in Valdosta, Georgia, before moving to the high-energy streets of New York City. From a very young age, he possessed a magnetic charisma that couldn't be ignored. He was a child prodigy of sorts, making his debut at the Apollo Theater when he was just 4 years old. He grew up immersed in the arts, studying tap dance and ballet, mastering the discipline required for the stage. However, the 1960s brought a different kind of call, one that replaced the spotlight with the muzzle flash of a rifle. Wilson was drafted into the United States Army and sent to the front lines of the Vietnam War as part of the 4th Infantry Division. In the thick jungles of Southeast Asia, he faced the raw reality of mortality. He was wounded in combat, earning his status as a decorated veteran, but he also carried home the invisible scars of war that would define his depth as an actor later in life. Returning to a restless America, Demond turned to acting not just as a career, but as a sanctuary. After honing his craft in off-Broadway productions, he landed the role that would change television history forever. When Sanford and Son premiered in 1972, it broke barriers of race and class, but at its heart, it was a story about the universal tension between a father's past and a son's future. Demond Wilson played Lamont Sanford with a brilliant, understated dignity. He was the straight man to Redd Foxx's wild comedic genius. While Fred Sanford would fake a big one to get out of trouble, Lamont was the one who kept the business running, the one who held the family together. Their chemistry was lightning in a bottle, an electric mix of frustration and deep-seated love that resonated with millions of families across the globe. But fame is a demanding master. By the time the show reached its height, Wilson was a superstar, yet he felt a growing hollowness inside. The glitz of Hollywood began to feel like the very junk he sold on screen. He realized that the industry often saw him only as a character, not as a man with a soul. In the mid-1980s, at a time when most would have clung to their celebrity status, Demond Wilson did something unthinkable. He walked away. He traded the scripts of Hollywood for the scriptures of the Bible. He was ordained as a minister, finding a new stage, not one of fiction, but one of faith. He founded Restoration House of America, dedicated to helping former inmates find a second chance at life. He spent years traveling the country, preaching a message of redemption, proving that his true calling was not to entertain, but to heal. In his later years, Demond's life became a masterclass in aging with grace and conviction. He became a prolific author, writing about his experiences and his spiritual journey, always remaining grounded in the reality of his roots. He moved to the peaceful desert of Palm Springs, California, where he lived a life of quiet reflection. Though rumors of his final illness remained private for a long time, it was eventually revealed that he was fighting a courageous battle against cancer. Even in the face of his own mortality, he remained a soldier, this time fighting for his spirit. He spent his final moments surrounded by the people who mattered most, his family. His son, Demond Wilson Jr., would later speak of him as a man of immense integrity who lived every day with a sense of purpose and a commitment to service. The news of his passing marks the end of an era for television, but more importantly, it marks the completion of a remarkable human journey. Demond Wilson taught us that a man can be many things at once: a warrior who fought for his country, a star who moved an entire generation to laughter, and a shepherd who guided lost souls back to the light. He was the voice of reason when the world was loud, and the voice of faith when the world was dark. As the truck in the junkyard finally comes to a halt and the theme song fades into the distance, we are left with the image of a man who was never a dummy, but a diamond, refined by fire, polished by time and shining with a light that will never truly fade. Rest well, Demond. Your bow was long, and your legacy is eternal. As the sun sets on a life lived with such extraordinary depth, we are left to measure the true weight of Demond Wilson's success. In the world of entertainment, success is often measured by ratings, awards, and the roar of the crowd. By those standards, Demond was a giant. Sanford and Son wasn't just a hit show, it was a cultural phenomenon that peaked with over 30 million viewers tuning in every week. It shattered stereotypes and proved that a sitcom centered on a black family in a gritty, urban setting could lead the national conversation. Demond's portrayal of Lamont Sanford earned him critical acclaim and several Golden Globe nominations, cementing his place in the pantheon of television history. He achieved the kind of stardom that most only dream of, becoming a face that was welcomed into living rooms for generations. Yet, if you were to ask the man himself about his greatest achievement, he wouldn't point to the trophies on a shelf or the royalty checks in the mail. He would point to the lives he touched after the cameras stopped rolling. Demond's true success lay in his radical courage to reinvent himself. At the pinnacle of his career, he chose a path of service over the path of self-interest. His transition into the ministry was not a retreat, but a courageous step forward. He authored numerous books, including Second Chance and The New Age of Sanford, using his platform to bridge the gap between his Hollywood past and his spiritual present. He spent decades working with the incarcerated, providing a roadmap for redemption to those whom society had written off. His Restoration House became a beacon of hope, proving that his most profound performances weren't scripted, they were lived out in the service of others. The legacy of Demond Wilson is a testament to the fact that we are not defined by a single chapter of our lives. He was a man of immense complexity, a warrior who fought for his country, a star who moved an entire generation to laughter, and a shepherd who guided lost souls back to the light. He was the voice of reason when the world was loud, and the voice of faith when the world was dark. As the final credits roll on this remarkable story, we remember Demond Wilson not as a dummy, but as a master of his own destiny. His laughter will continue to echo through the reruns, his sermons will continue to inspire through his writings, and his spirit will live on in the hearts of those he helped. He has taken his final bow, but the light he left behind is too bright to ever truly go out. Rest well, Demond. You have finished your race, and you have finished it beautifully.